All right, all right. What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Welcome to Bill Korman's Mindset Revolution every Friday, 12 p.m. straight up Eastern Standard Time, East Coast time. We are so excited for today. We're an amazing guest speaker that we have for today. A little check-in, a little homework from last week. We asked you guys that were on here. We challenged you 2 weeks ago. Then Dr. Crane followed it up when he trained about some challenges. And so I just wanted to check in and see if anybody's seeing some things that are moving in their life, things they see that are changing. Right? Obviously, the small incremental changes, you don't always see them right away, but you know that they're working because you're committed to it. You're showing up every day. You make that decision. Whatever that one thing that we asked you to identify, the one thing that you wanted the most to change in your life, to just solely focus and commit to that. That was it, one thing. And so we wanted to give you some time here before we bring up our incredible guest speaker for you guys to anybody that want to share on how you're doing on that one thing. Remember, we started by talking about the power of human capacity, right? Where we are today in our lives, what we've accomplished, that most of us are still in second gear. Most of us don't realize that it's an infinite game. There is no limit to the gears. There is none. Zero limit to the gears you have. You just have to say what's next. When you hit, it's like a never-ending staircase. Like you're at the gym. So you guys see me post in the morning. Those of you who follow me, you see me post in the morning from the stair climber. Right, it's like the stairs never stop, right? Unless you stop them, when you hit the button and stop, the stairs never stop. They just keep rolling. They just keep going. That's the way this game is. The life game is called the infinite game. So, anybody want to share on the one thing that they focused on, the one thing that they're committed to, that they're working on? Anybody?
Actually, I've got kind of two things I'll share, Bill. One thing on my business, I know I've shared with you. I'll share this with everybody. I've made a focus months ago that I was really going to lock into what I'm doing, totally change what I was talking about, really market and focus on what my mission was going to be, and it's paying off. As everybody knows, I branded myself the Sandwich Generation Advisor. I've got people contacting me now, reaching out. Actually had somebody want to know if I was affiliated with a sandwich generation group out of Kansas City, and I was like, no, I'm not part of that, but I definitely got to check them out and all those types of things. And I'm actually going to leverage some of the BFL things, and I'm going to make my own sandwich generation referral hub, just to kind of go through and to just kind of give people just vetted resources for services I don't provide, but things that people who are in my niche really need. So just really doing that, focusing in truly branding and crafting my identity, I guess, is kind of the one thing I've been doing. And I shared with you, and I've been doing this probably since April or whatever around that. So it's taken some time, and everybody knows a lot of times you're working and working and working, and you don't see the results. But now everything seems to, well, not everything, but some of the things are really starting to come together and make sense and really drop into place. I've got my social media tuned up. I actually use an automated script to generate my posts. And man, I'm impressed with what this thing's coming out with of the images and the content. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could have written that, but it just kind of does it. And it's just about, and that leads into kind of what's going in next, just being consistent. I've tried to get back in the gym for a while now. I've had lots of stuff going on, no excuses. It's just, it's life. For the last 6 weeks, I've been hitting the gym pretty much twice a week. I'm getting stronger, and I'm dropping a little bit of weight, and my attitude's doing better, and I'm feeling like I have more energy. So consistency. So that's what I got.
That's powerful. Congratulations, brother. Very proud of you, and excited for as this journey continues to see the amazing thing God is planned for you in your life. Way to go. Way to go. Anybody else? We got time for one more, and I'm going to bring up our special guest.
All right.
Vic, go ahead,
Hey,
brother.
hey, good morning, all everyone. Yes, what have we focused on? Oh, that it's been very, very interesting with honing down and focusing on just one thing. But I'll start off with this. I was called back into youth ministry, which has been an awesome, incredible event, and that actually helped me in receiving that call. It really helped me in this manner, and I think it across the board, is that when we start thinking about our what we want to change in our life, and we talk about our vision board and our life to be, and we talk about the goals we want to set, except what came to me was that number one, if we don't take the time to really reflect and write down what our values are and 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 really focus on that and our mission statement and our vision, if you will, for our individual life and how that fits into the broader picture that we're speaking on today, that it can get very challenging. And that's where the distractions come in. And we get overloaded until we focus crystal clear on those 8 items in our life. And in doing that step by step, and exactly what Kirk said, that consistency of thought and spending that time and focusing in on that opens up the mind and the conversations to the people I've been interacting with across the board. And that's really changed how I see things and opens up a brand new perspective and everything. And in those interactions with business owners, I was at a market event recently. I met a lot. I went through a row of young entrepreneurs and had great conversations with them, and some business owners that I was introduced to, and it was amazing what the conversations were different in that connection and relating with people. And from that experience, here's something to consider and think more about too. Everyone is in a different season in their life. And how we receive they receive those conversations, the messages and the things that we're trying to offer them or invite them into a relationship with in our business and in our life and everything. It's really amazing the stories I was receiving. And so that has really helped me focus even more on what it is that we're going to contribute in our role that's going to be playing in the BFL organization, and how, with all of your help, we'll be able to create something very, very unique and special for myself and my family, and impact the thousands of people in the future. So that consistency and spending time with my particular values, my particular mission statement, my particular vision, and incorporating that and getting crystal clear on that, I think has been very exceedingly helpful, in that it's changed in the new season that I'm entering right now in my life.
That's powerful. Thanks, brother. Thanks for sharing again. So one of the things that we've gone on this journey together, this mindset revolution, is the first challenge is just focus on one thing, right? Because
Mhm.
we've seen, maybe Dr. Andre will talk a little bit about today, when we try to focus on so many things. Look at New Year's resolutions, right? Most people put
Mhm.
2, 3, 4, 6, 20. They don't ever get to them, right? They don't follow through. So yeah, so that's our challenge, everybody. Focus on that one thing, put all your efforts into that one thing that you're going to focus on changing, and we will check in with you guys again on that next week. So it's my extreme pleasure to bring up. So I've known this lady for over a year, and we've done some amazing stuff together already. She's our Chief Strategic Influence Officer, overseeing multiple companies in the Korman family of companies. We're actually in the process of putting together once in a decade convention called the 160 A Game Convention. And she comes from an incredible background. She has a $16 billion Rolodex. So imagine that. That means that she can open up her contact list and reach billionaires. And she can, oh my God. She can reach in there and connect with, billionaires. She can reach out. She's a neuroscientist. She has 3 PhDs. She has a ton of certifications. She can hypnotize you, right? Not the hocus pocus stuff, but the real good stuff, like to get inside the nugget, right? And to help you with breakthroughs. So I asked her if she would spend all the time. She's super busy. She's working on this event for us and all kinds of other stuff. I said, can we get a little bit of your time today on Bill Korman, on a BKMR, Bill Korman's Mindset Revolution, to help our community, the people that tap in here and the people that come back and watch these recordings as part of the podcast, if she could come on and share with us some of her expertise. So, ladies and gentlemen, please unmute your mics. Give it up for the one and only Dr. Andrea Adams Miller. Let's go.
Hello, jazz hands. I'm a theater.
Yeah.
Always love jazz hands. So This is a really fun opportunity because even though I'm a master neuroscientist and even though I've overcome challenges in my life with a diagnosis of ADHD, every day in my life I have to think about focusing. And not that I consciously lay there and think, how can I focus today? But I am aware subconsciously that focus is something that we have to shift and merge and adapt to, because it's part of, what's most important to us to be able to accomplish the things that we want to. So this is super important right now. So I'm going to give you some details right now that are going to be things that you already know and sometimes need to remind yourself of. And especially right now where I'm here to talk to you. So I need your attention. I need your focus. So I'm going to ask you to turn your phone upside down. Don't look at it. No vibration. It will distract you. Turn off any other TV or monitors or radios that you have on. Turn off your other tabs that you have going on, the 18 tabs that you have on your computer. Turn them off. Turn up your speakers so that I'm loud, like I'm at a convention of 400 people and I'm yelling to the back of it, or 4,000 even. And then allow other people in your world, if they want to interrupt you, say, can you give me like 45 minutes here? And to be fully engaged and take notes. In fact, write down things that you don't think are things that you need to write down. Because what's interesting is sometimes we only write down things that we think are new or different. But by writing things down and taking notes, the literal physical ability to write things with your hand programs your brain differently. It remembers your handwriting or your cursive or your combo of, if you're old school like me, and it puts it in your brain in a different spot. So we actually remember things by the simple fact that you wrote it and where you wrote it on a piece of paper. So you can visualize it and you can feel it. So another way of recalling memory is by how those things work. If we only type, there have been some studies, but they're not as conclusive. When you type with your fingers, there is a memory that goes in, but you're not remembering words now. These are all letter combinations. And you might see what you're writing, but often we're looking at what we're trying to copy, and so you're not remembering the same way. So it can help, but really handwriting is a better way of doing that. And I'm also going to ask your permission to be honest, like brutally honest on this. So can I get some hand emojis or some shout outs that you guys are going to be like, woohoo, I'm here. Victor, you're in? All right, Victor's doing that. Okay, cool. And I'll just assume Stephen and Sherwin are in. Yay, they're in. We just don't see them, but they're committed. All right. So, all right. And I love that because, sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves in order to get what's better for us. So, so I'll give you a little bit of my history and background so you get who I am and why all of this became so important to me in my life. So, my life was not always great, but it wasn't horrible either. I grew up as an only child, so, everything was about me, so gosh, every day was kind of Christmas, except for it kind of wasn't. I lived with a dad who was verbally and physically abusive, and yet while he loved me, he showed his love through hurt and anger. And so that wasn't always good. And it was kind of like living in a war zone because you never knew what step you were going to take that was going to set off a bomb of reaction. And then I also became a really great negotiator because I was trying to negotiate my dad, to be calmer and for my mom not to be upset and to help, ascertain my mom from doing this to keep my dad from doing that. And I learned how to self-soothe and find things of value and importance for myself because I didn't have a brother or sister to blame. If anything happened, I was the only one to take fault for it because there wasn't anybody else there. And if you look back in your own life, you may not have had that crazy scenario that I just suggested, but you probably had situations or, maybe your parents were divorced or you lived in a household where maybe there was 12 kids and it was very chaotic and noisy. And how do you get seen in the chaos? We all have a backstory of something that maybe didn't go the way we wanted. And the only reason I mention those today is those backstories, those situations affect how we focus and listen and how we implement things today in our lives. It's really based on what we stored in our memory on how to think and function when things are in chaos and when things are in calm. And so as a kid, I blamed myself for everything, and I took and my dad blamed me for everything. So I learned quickly that I needed to modify and make things different. And I often was filled with a fear and a paralysis that, and often told I was stupid. So, I didn't get 3 PhDs initially because I only wanted to learn. I wanted to prove something of myself. Well, I finally got comfortable with me and realized now I learned to learn. I don't care how many PhDs I have, and I appreciate that other people think that that's cool. Me, I just love learning now and want the information because I've seen what it's done for me and how it's changed my life and how I help other people. So another defining moment came when I realized that by the things that I did and the things that I learned to make my life situation better impacted the world of other people. And it was when I noticed that I started doing things where I gave my mom a voice for a woman who lived in a situation of domestic violence, and where I gave my dad a voice, a person who only had a voice through anger and hate. Sometimes I could open the platform so that he could actually voice what he wanted to say with emotion and love, because the anger was always just a mask for what he really wanted. And when I realized that, then my whole idea of learning became different, because I realized that my purpose is to give people a voice to be seen, heard, and understood with whatever it is that they're doing. One of the reasons that we're doing the 168 game is for me to help Bill be seen and heard about this wonderful message that he has. But because the 168 game, or also, I guess it's and, not but, the 168 game helps other people to discover and align for themselves how they can have more time and initiative to focus, get things done, have more time freedom, have more wealth. And I guess, ultimately it all helps all of you, because that's what you're doing in the Built for Life financial agency, is trying to help other people have greater wealth and freedom in their life. So I love that. So for me, it was setting my sights on a new pathway, and that breakthrough literally changed my whole life. And that's the reason, then, not on top of all the PhDs, I got all these certifications and really started understanding about the brain and how the brain works and why we do what we do. So when you think about all of this, here, let me get some feedback first. So those of you hearing my story, what are there things that you're experiencing for yourself, or maybe you've heard in maybe your peers or coworkers, and you think, oh, that makes total sense. I never thought about like how their world was affected and how they grow up affects how they think and function today. Anybody want to have a share on that? Calvin, you want to share something? No, you just say, yeah, it's recognizable to you. Okay, cool. And by the way, interactive means you guys can talk too, by the way, but you have to unmute yourselves. And,
For
and so I
me,
appreciate that. Yeah.
and I know for me, what I've seen over the years, I was always wondered why, you know, children that are the byproduct of divorce, like how they see the world and how they interact in the world. And recently I've read some significant studies on that, and what it causes. People think, oh, it's no big deal because 60-70% of people get divorced, right? But the trauma goes along with it. So I hear people's story, like yours growing up and other people like that. It makes you realize two things for me. Number one, when I hear stories that are worse than mine, I'm like, that's I don't get any problems, right? It's minimal compared to what some of the other people that I've had in my life and I've been around. And the second thing is that it's going to be okay. So those are the two things that percolate for me.
Thank you for sharing that. And by the way, I do make a lot of jokes about the traumas in my past and so forth. And that's because through humor, I found a consolation in being able to handle it. And I definitely don't make light of domestic violence. However, that's how you learn to cope. I also have a background in law enforcement, and we learned through humor to handle that as well. So if any of you have been in the military or anything like that, certainly that's a coping mechanism that certainly helps, and helps you keep focus. So it goes right along with what we're talking about here. All right. So all of this was, I suppose people could say it's a cosmic roll of the die, or maybe it's a God thing. It was what God intended for me, and my thought is all of those things are true, and at the same time, none of the things that I accomplished happened by accident. Everything that I've done in my life and how I've learned and how I've overcome things can be replicated. And so I want you to be thinking about that for your life as well. How do you take the things that you've overcome and the things that you've done in the past and apply them to these new situations that may keep you off focus? Because it really boils down to simple steps and a system, and you inherently have those systems and have achieved things before by overcoming them. And so you could be doing that on your own. And I know that, by you guys showing up today, there's something that you want. I mean, I got to hear Kurt and that was Victor, right? Victor's story about what they want to accomplish and what's important. I love that whole idea of the sandwich generation. That's absolutely amazing. And so the things I'm going to share with you today will be simple and easy, but they can completely change, your life, your business, your career, and the legacy that you leave behind with these simple things. So the first thing I want to share about is it's called Hakalau. Are any of you familiar with the term Hakalau? Have you ever heard it ever? Okay. So Hakalau is a Hawaiian term. And Hakalau, it also can mean like a happiness and place to be. But how we use it in neuroscience, in hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming. By the way, sometimes people think of hypnosis as like hooky pooky, like, oh, it's Halloween, let's do some hypnosis. That's not what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is the idea that your subconscious picks up information, thoughts, and ideas and can carry them out to the subconscious. And based on what you hear, listen to, think, and react. Like if you watch Jerry Springer all day, chances are you're going to be attracted to chaos and loudness, because that's how you've trained your brain. That's how we respond to people, is you throw a chair and shout at them. Okay. But if you listen to positive shows and faith-based positivity and not the news, chances are you're going to think like, oh, let's see John Boy and them on I'm just trying to look at hold. Kelvin may not know what I'm talking about. Would understand that, like how these people responded to stress and how they came together to make things work. Little House on the Prairie and all of those, there was a different way of response on how they handled trauma and situations and stress, and what they considered trauma and situations and stress are at a different level as well. And so Hakalau, well, I was talking about hypnosis for that. So hypnosis can be, how many of you, all right, so by the way, let me ask this, and your honesty is what we need here. How many of you believe that you cannot be hypnotized? And does anybody think I cannot be hypnotized? Think maybe somebody? Oh, my hand. I love how our emojis automatically work now when you raise your hand. And you may or may not be able to, but what I have found, or what I've shared with people, is, have you ever been driving down the road? And let's say every day you go home from your workplace or whatever, and on this one particular day, you're supposed to make a side trip and drop something off we got mostly men here, so drop something off for your partner at somebody's house or some random whatever. They gotta be running an errand that you don't normally do. And you're driving home, and you got to do this errand, and you pull in your driveway and go, forgot to drop off this thing. And it wasn't that you forgot, because you remembered, but you went into automatic mode. That is a form of hypnosis, where you have hypnotized yourself to have a routine where you just automatically do these things without even thinking about them. Now, of course, you're thinking about them. if you had a stick shift, you're clutching and braking and moving your, gear shift. Or if you have another, just a regular car, you're still looking left and right and stopping at stop signs. It's not like you forgot what was happening around you. You still respond to all of those things, but you become in like a hypnotic state. Same thing happens when we watch TV. You just kind of like lose yourself. You're not even aware of what's going on in the peripheral because of this hypnotic state that you're in. And when you're in a hypnotic state, you're more subjectable. Now, that doesn't mean I can brainwash you. Brainwashing, yes, can happen, but it's going to take a whole lot more than 45 minutes for me to talk to you, to brainwash you anything. I'm going to need hours and hours, and I need to take away food and water and other things. Like there's major things that have to happen. However, if you're open to and receptive to it, you might receive some of the ideas I say. However, if I were to put you in a hypnotic mode and ask you to bark like a chicken, and you were like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not the kind of person to embarrass myself in public, think that you would do it. Well, you won't. You're going to be like, no way am I going to do that right now. How like the moon. Andrea's going to say that. I'm going to start doing that here on this Zoom. You won't do it. Your subconscious will wake up your conscious and say, no, we're not doing that. So when you put yourself, and you can put yourself in a state of hypnosis. So that's what we're going to do with this Hakalau. And it allows you to suggest to your own mind how you might like to respond or show up. It helps you reframe your situation. So if you're having a bad day or a bellyache or there's too much noise or chaos and you're trying to do a Zoom and they're mowing outside your yard and you're worried it's going to show up, even though Zoom has gotten really good about reducing background noise, it still worries you because you can hear it. So that's what Hakalau does. And hypnosis. Now, in hypnosis, when you work with someone else, they can actually suggest things like a removal of limiting beliefs. It doesn't mean you forgot that those things happened. So like, let's say you're grieving over someone and we release some grief about someone. It doesn't mean you're like, Grandma, I never had a grandma. I don't know what you guys are talking about. You're still going to miss Grandma. You're still going to love Grandma. You're still going to grieve Grandma, but you might not be in the emotion of grief, which is totally different. And then I want to cover NLP, neuro-linguistic programming as well. And that's where we use different words to solicit different emotions and reactions in people to help shift them in a different direction. And again, if your mind is like, that is absolutely not congruent with my values and morals and principles, you will not accept it. You will ain't happening. But if it is in alignment with what you want, you'll like, give me more. I want seconds on that. And so just give you a little background. And then I've created my own stuff called the Quantum Reality Recode. And that's where I do different things with imagination and smells and tastes and memory and some physicality, motion, movement to help all of those things work together. All right, so Hakalau, thank you for letting me share that. So at least I've seeded a little bit of memory for you guys on what those things are if you hear them again. So Hakalau, what you do is you could be wherever you are. You could do this in public. It doesn't have to. Now here it's going to be more obvious because I want it to be obvious, but you could do this in the middle of the grocery store and people aren't going to go like, who's this alien weirdo? Okay, it's fine. So what you do is you look up towards the ceiling. So it's like a 45-degree angle from the ceiling down. So if you try to look up too high, then your eyes do this icky flippy thing. You don't want to do that, but you just leave your chin straight and you look your eyes up and you find a spot on the wall or the ceiling as high up as that you can see that's comfortable for you. And you just hold your eyes there for like 30 seconds and just breathe. Oh, wait. Look at me for a moment. Everybody look my way for a moment. I should have had you do this first so I could actually show you a test, but it'll still work. I want you to right now, looking at me, look straight ahead at your computer. Look at your computer, look at whatever's in front of you, because I realize some of you might have cameras to the side. Look straight in front of you and put your hands out to the side and wiggle your fingers and move your hands forward enough so that you can see your fingers in your peripheral vision. Can you see them? Like if you were to look at me, I can see my fingers here, even though they're clear out to the sides of me. Okay. All right. So now drop your hands a second, go back into Hakalau. Actually, go ahead and leave them up. Leave them where they were, where you could see them. Go up into Hakalau and then move your fingers back and see how much farther back you can still wiggle your fingers and see them through your peripheral vision. Often people will find that they can't physically even see them anymore, but there's like the sense of I can see them even though I can't see them. Can you guys feel that? So Hakalau is this ability to put yourself in this focus. What it does is it opens up both channels of the brain. It opens up your peripheral vision so that you're aware of what's going on in the world. But because you're more aware, you can now also focus, because you can also turn off the things that you see and only pay attention to the things that are important around you. So studies have shown that students who do this improve their grades in school by a full to a full and a half letter grade, just by going into Hakalau before they listen to a lecture and before they study and before they take a test. So imagine, now are all of you agents, by the way? Is everybody? Okay. So imagine the next time you have a new agent coming on and you teach them Hakalau so that they can study and take the test. They're going to do so much better and being able to do that on the simple exercise of Hakalau. So Hakalau, because it's so easy, like if you're going to have to give a speech or do something here on Zoom, if you just prepare to get ready and you just look up for a couple seconds and then look back down, nobody thinks anything weird. Like they're not like you just did some voodoo weirdo stuff, okay? It's like really easy to do. And it's amazing how much more you can hear and pay attention and to focus in. And we also, studies have shown that we can only pay attention for about 45 minutes. So for yourself, like whether it's like on a little timer or you train your brain to, how many of you still wake up with an alarm clock, or you automatically have trained yourself to wake up? Kurt's not. So Kurt, that is something that you can do if you believe you can. And it's okay to have a backup. But then Kurt might even wake up before his alarm clock, or else he's just dependent on it. But a lot of people train themselves to wake up before it goes off as well. So that is you training your brain on time, even though your eyes are closed and you're not looking at where the sun comes up and when it goes down and where you're at. And you might even do that when you travel. Those are all the different ways that you're training your brain to focus in and to do different things that become automatic. That is a form of a hypnotic trance to be able to do that for your brain. Okay, I just mentioned something, and I remember I said I have ADHD, so I always have to think on how to overcome that. There's something I told you and I wanted to come back to. I'll just keep talking and it'll just come back to me. And if you think what it is, you jump in and say, hey, Andrea, you were talking there, and that will help me wonderful. All right. So Hakalau, again, I just want to remind you to do this on a regular basis. If you do Hakalau before you sit down for a meeting, when you're meeting someone, your negotiation skills and your ability to close will likely go higher. We've never done a test on that. That is something that I would love to do and see what the actual significance is. I would rate it as very high with the people that I've worked with and the clients that I've trained to take that in. By the way, I've worked with athletes that are utilizing that, and my joke is they pay me hundreds of dollars to make them millions and billions of dollars to teach them Hakalau. So Hakalau was a really good one. All right, so let me tell you kind of a little bit about how this works so you understand how your brain works. So the information that we see, hear, think, smell, all of the senses, that comes into our brain and through our eyes and ears and through our skin, and we automatically delete, distort, or generalize. So we put them in categories. So if you ever compared like maybe your desk and filing system to how your brain works, so there's going to be things you're like, yeah, trash. And there's going to be other things you're going to be like, oh, this is actually that. And maybe it's, you got something like from March Dimes or some other kind of advertisement or something, and you thought, wow, they marketed this really well. I'm going to put this in a marketing file. Okay, so you just distorted it. It is a plea for money, and you've just distorted it into now this is something to model for marketing. Okay, so you've distorted it, or you generalized it. You take information and you're like, oh, that means this. So you take one thing and you make it this class. You take this whole class and you say, oh, this is personal development. You just grouped it into a whole big thing instead of specific niche to how my brain works and how I focus on things. We generalize it because we only have so many. I go like this because I'm opening up library card files in my head. That's how I think about how people store things. They store things in one area and relate it to another. If you remember the old card library system, let's say you wanted to look up cheetah. There would be, you'd look it up and it says refer to, an animal, a cat. And then it say, and nowadays it would say cheetah, refer to Cheetos, has a cheetah on it. And then now you're thinking of the food category, all right? So there's different places that you do things. However, the way to memorize and help you focus on things is to also think about this card catalog in your brain where you've deleted, distorted, and generalized things and help them cross-reference. So when you have to do an item or have to do something where you know there's key components of it, by doing things by integrating song or an accent or some kind of an acronym. So like we know BFL stands for Built for Life, so you're using an acronym to help you remember things. All of these little tools help you keep your focus because they are all things that people have developed over the years to help them stay in alignment for things. Can you guys think of some other things that you are already doing to help you? How many of you automatically make a jingle or sing a song if you have to remember things? Yeah. Kurt, I want to hear you sing.
Oh, no, you don't.
Hey, if it helps you remember, like
Exactly.
eggs, bacon, milk, and raspberries, whatever it is that you got to remember, or like,
Just some crazy things, yes.
Yeah, those things help you. It also helps if you add humor to whatever it is, because again, we've already talked about how humor helps with distortion of other things that are negative. It also helps you to remember things that are important and helps you focus back in. So I recommend to my clients often, actually, studies for CEOs. So if you own your own company, even if you're an entrepreneur, you're a CEO and you own your own company, even if you work by yourself. And 74% of CEOs have burnout where they just like can't think anymore. Like their brain hurts from thinking because they've spent so much time like being on Zoom. On Zooms are actually very challenging because you're only looking here. I mean, actually, if we did what we're supposed to do, I only look at the green dot and I don't move my head or arms or anything. I'm looking at the green dot instead of looking at you and looking at your faces. So, this idea that we zoom in like this instead of having this dimension also is strain on how we think and how we focus. But if you're going into Hakalau and every 45 minutes you're doing things, I'm going to give you guys some exercises to shift your brain from one side to the other. So how many of you guys remember to activate move your right hand if you want your left brain to be working? So left brain is, do you guys remember left brain is your scientific, logical side, engineering side? So if you're going to balance your checkbook, please do not activate the right hand side. And I can't remember how you guys see me, if you guys see me in actuality or not. But if you're moving your left-hand side, you're probably going to draw flowers in your checkbook or be creative with money, okay? Now, that can be helpful if you're trying to think of how to earn more money, how to make more money, how to spend it wiser. Creativity is good, but then you need to flip it to the other side of your brain to help the other side to be more effective. So when you're literally working, if you want both sides of your brain to be working, especially if maybe you're trying to work on a case with maybe some a financial situation, and the family also has maybe somebody with a potential disability and some other things. So you're thinking of all these different, like, which program do I use out of the hundreds that we have available? You know, which one's going to be most effective? Which one is long-term, short-term? And you're trying to think of all those different values that would be important to making a really great portfolio for that client. One of the things that you can do is you put your hands out in front of you. So go ahead and put your hands out in front of you. And you're going to put one over the other and interlace your fingers, and you're going to pull it up. Pull it up and under to your chest, and then just breathe for a second. Put them back out, flip them, interchange. By the way, the first way you did it is probably you did it with your non-dominant hand, so this one's always more awkward for people because they're not as used to it. So that means practice it this way more, and then put them back out again. And do that a couple times. So you'll do that in and out, flip, in and out. I call it in and out. I guess it's under and up. And then do it again. That engages your brain differently. So now you're thinking with both sides of your brain. Okay? Then the next thing to do is you pinch, you can do this at the same time. You pinch your earlobes and pull. Pinch and pull them all the way up and around. You might find while you're doing this, you all of a sudden feel a need to swallow. It also can drain your nasal passages and your lymph nodes around your brain too. So don't be alarmed if you have a sniffle. So, all right. What you may have noticed is that I got louder all of a sudden. That also opens up your hearing, and when your hearing is better, you're more focused. So the way that you know that that's true, have you ever noticed that when you're driving and you're driving with directions and you don't know where you're going and you have kids or other people talking in the background and you're trying to figure out which way to go, you need them to be quiet so you know whether to turn left or right? Our eyes and brain work better if our hearing is hearing what we need to, or so we either have quiet or concentration. So when I said put your phone down, turn down the distractions and all those things, that's why that's so important. So your brain doesn't have so much input, it can't think. Now there are times, oh, go ahead, Bill, you're gonna say something, or Kurt?
Actually, it's Kirk. I was going to say that that's the reason why we all have to turn down the radio when we're trying to find a location.
Exactly.
It just
It is exactly why that works. And thank you for reminding me about the radio. That is exactly why that works. All right, so that was with the ears. All right, so the other thing to do is to open up both sides of your brain for air. So you literally hold one nostril and breathe, and then deep breathe on the other side. And do that a couple times. That's bringing a burst of oxygen to your brain. Okay. Now, the other thing that you're going to do that's, I can't really show you because we're on Zoom, it's not as easy, is you're going to take your dominant foot forward, and you can do this sitting, but it's also almost better to do it standing, is you lift your heel up and contract your calf muscle. So it's like doing a heel raise of your dominant foot, only your dominant foot. By the way, I worked for a famous basketball player, and I always loved to see him on court doing that. He would do the calf raise. He would do all these for me. He did them all. But the calf raise was the one that was most obvious, because that's what he was like this, and he'd calf raise, and then throw. And I was like, woohoo! I always felt like every time he got a point, it was because of me. And that calf raise with your dominant foot also helps the dominant side of your brain work and your body work better. And the other exercise that you can do is you put your hands out again. I like to do it from clear out to the sides, and you bring them together, one over the other, and then you flip them and bring them out. So you're like doing infinity symbols or figure eights with each hand, and then you switch and then do it the other way with the other hand on top and bottom. And the farther out you can do to the side, the better. This again, these are all brain gym exercises that can help you focus. When I was talking to you about those statistics of like CEOs and, entrepreneurs that have this brain out and brain, it should be called brain out because their brain is out. They're just done. What I have found with some of my clients is I need to tell them to be still and be quiet. Some of them have found great relief with having an isolation booth or going to an isolation chamber where you float in water in blackness where there's nothing. Sometimes they have music for people, but I actually think it's helpful to have no sound. The sound of your own heart. You have enough sound going on in your own body. When you are still and quiet, chances are you're still hearing the humming of the cords and electricity around you, depending on how hypersensitive you are to those things. You're also going to hear your own heartbeat. Some people hear their blood flow. You're going to hear your respirations of in and out. You got a noise factory going on. Your belly's gurgling. There's gas in there moving. It depends on what you ate, but you've got a lot of body sounds of your own. And so when we think we're being in quiet and stillness, you're still never in absolute silence, even if you're in an isolation chamber. But if you do that for just a few minutes, it doesn't have to be a long time. It could literally be like 3 minutes. If you could, 2 times a day, even just try this as a new thing for the next week. 2 times a day, be absolutely silent and still for 3 minutes. Actually, let's do a minute of silence right now. So if you're chewing, stop. All right. Just be still right now. I know even for me, even though I practiced this, after 20 seconds, I was like, oh, did I forget? I better look at the clock. Make sure I wasn't keeping you guys. Did I zone off? Did I go to sleep? Where that? Oh, I did think of something. If you are diagnosed with ADHD and you find silence difficult for you to concentrate when you're doing something where, like, let's say you're working on a program or an Excel sheet or writing a speech or listening to a lecture, you may find that it's more helpful for you to put an earbud in one ear. You figure out which ear works for you best, and you play whatever music works for you. Some people, it's actually hearing like a talk radio show or podcast. Other people, I had one client student in his 20s who hard heavy metal is what he needed to hear in one ear, and then he could pay attention excellent in class. Other people need to hear like a concerto or an opera or pop music, whatever works for you. For me, I like binaural. Write the word binaural down. By the way, if you guys haven't been writing this down, start writing these down. Binaural beats. It's BINAURAL, binaural beats. When you listen to a binaural beat, you can look them up on YouTube. They're free. And they're frequencies of sound that can put you in different states that are actually healing as well. So if you have an upset stomach, you're constipated, you have a knee injury or a back pain, you can look up binaural beats, back pain, and you will find them that actually are very healing for your body to listen to these tones. And you can also buy tuning forks that have those as well. And those help heal. I know some people consider that stuff voodoo, but it's actually healing science that we have found that these sounds actually can help you heal. And you can listen to those in the background, like if you're going to be at a conference all day and an earbud in your ear. Of course, if you're working by yourself, having them on in the background is absolutely amazing. And they have them for concentration and focus as well for studying. So having them and it just makes everybody, they have them for happiness, by the way. You can actually have them play so it stimulates the same things that a smile does. So a smile, when you smile and cause other people to smile, you have a release of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So you feel better even when you're faking it. Now, when you fake it, you also got to use your eyes. If you fake it here, then you look like the 3-year-old little boy in pictures, Smiling in my high school or my little elementary school picture. But if you smile with your whole face and include your eyes, your brain is literally tricked into releasing all those hormones. Now, certainly that's a band-aid effect. If you've had a grief or a loss or a super challenge, that does not make those things magically go away, but it does help manifest those things better. Actually, it's been proven through it's called RAS, your reticular activation system. So when people, who's the leader? Help me. I can't remember the name of our leader who said, was it Napoleon Hill? What you think about, I can't even remember the quote. Like what you think about comes to fruition, what you dream about exists, or several people have said it in several different ways. So some of you are nodding. You know the gist of what I'm trying to say.
So like auto suggestion?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So what you concentrate on is what you manifest or bring to yourself. So if you are smiling and using that trick of a smile combined with a Hakalau, now you're more concentrated and you have this better feeling. It's like a little bit of a band-aid thing, it's like giving yourself a hug, and you feel better even though it didn't fix the problem. It puts you in a better frame to find a solution to the problem. So just as a recap, if you do Hakalau, pinch your ears, sniff, sniff, pump your calf, do the figure eights, and then do the hand twisty thing. I call it the elephant twist too sometimes. Automatically, you'll be able to have more focus and more concentration. And then add to that 3 minutes twice a day to be completely still when you're already not like, you can definitely meditate when you get up. Meditation is wonderful. But I'm talking in the middle of all the chaos. Like if things are totally chaos and you can't get away, go to the bathroom and go in a stall and shut the thing. Whether you had to pee or not, doesn't matter. Whether you had to poop or not, doesn't matter. Go in there and shut the thing. And if somebody says, why are you in there so long? You go, must have been what I ate. And they don't need to know anything, or they don't need to know you're meditating. I had to go to the toilet and meditate because you people were irritating me. Okay. They don't need to know that. You just come up with something you just pat your belly and they don't want to know anymore. You're in a good spot. All right. So, all right, let me think what else I haven't told you that I wanted to tell you. Because when I saw how many were on here, I thought, let's be a little bit more playful instead of super serious on what we could do. So, all right. So is it for you guys, is it becoming more clear to you why Bill wanted you to have this personal development training opportunity today? And can you see for yourself the massive leap that it could do for you when you put it in place? You feel that? Yeah, thanks. Thank you. And the cool thing is like, I'm not selling you anything today, so you didn't even have to have your credit card out or anything. So extra bonus. All right. So let me think what else I wanted to tell you. I had them written down here. I'm kind of looking around. All right. So by utilizing those tricks that we just kind of, tricks, methods, methodologies, exercises, whatever keys, they're all the secrets, so to speak, on how you can make your brain more effective, which if you're utilizing those before you're planning anything, then your planning will be more clear. And you can literally then switch your brain back and forth. If you're doing like a business plan for someone or a financial plan, you might want to turn on the left side of your brain by moving the right side of your body. But let's say you also need to be really creative with that. You might first do the other way and move the left and only be creative with the right side of your brain to think like, how can I make this work? And then by doing both sides of your brain, activities for both sides, and re-looking at your plan, it allows you to think of the logic and the creativity and do those work together so that the creativity and the innovation and the math both work. And that will allow for you to have better accountability and a better perspective of how your ideas could be pitched to someone. So another cool way of doing this is This is considered manipulation, but it's positive manipulation. When you're working with someone and they seem stressed about things and you want to put them at ease when you're talking to them about their financial planning or whatever, it's okay to obviously in front of them go and make a face like you're looking at something and tilt your head. And then they will want to see what you're looking at. You automatically are putting them in Hakalau because they're looking for whatever you were looking at. Whether you say, "Oh, I thought I saw something. Must be a light or a bug or whatever." Yeah, well, you were looking for your dot because we always put up dots when we teach students. But that puts them in Hakalau for a moment. Or if you're okay with it, you just tell them, "Oh, there's this exercise we do to help open up your mind so that way you can think clearer for yourself so you can make better decisions. It's called Hakalau. And go like this for 30 seconds." And that will put them in a better state of mind to be more open and talking with you. Another thing is if you want them to be doing things, when you hand them papers or do things, you get them moving the side of the arm that you want them to move. If you want them to be, if they're being so rigid in their thinking and you need them to be a little bit more open-minded, you might want to give them something with to their left hand so that their right side of their brain kind of opens up. So hand them a drink and hand them a pen, hand them something to read. So they're moving this side of their body, and that helps shift them as well. And, to me, those are positive tips that we can do because you guys aren't trying to rip people off. You're not trying to take their money. You're trying to help them take care of themselves. And often you have way more concern for them than they do for themselves. So it's a positive thing to do. So doing that, you're going to have good karma and good, mojo from doing those things. It's okay to do that. It certainly is helpful. And this will allow you to feel more empowered. We're out of time. Just realized we're out of time. All right, so let me close up. So my secret weapons also for focus is having coaches, have more than one coach, have multiple coaches. I have 3 coaches myself in different areas. And that can also include mentoring that's separate from coaching, and then being involved in masterminds where you're with like people and different minded people so that you can concentrate. And I kind of will end on this. Mindset is everything. When you think about things in the scope of the world, you need to be in motion. Because where people get stuck is they haven't made a decision one way or the other. And that's for your clients as well. They get stuck. Even if they seem to be negative, let them go there for a moment because that gets them from stuck to motion. And, I use this. Do you remember the song, "When you're up, you're up, and when you're down, you're down, and when you're only halfway up, you're neither up nor down"? That song, what it does is it allows people in your head, it's thinking about them. They've got to be in motion because when you're stuck, you just are stuck. But if you spin your tires one way or the other, you're at least making some momentum of a car that's stuck on the snow. You just got to get some rocket and momentum either direction. Because if you start to go down, you'll go back up. And sometimes when you go too high, you'll come back down a little bit. So be aware of that and keep those things in motion. So again, I'm a trainer, master practitioner, master trainer in multiple different modalities. So this is, a plethora of some things that I know of. I could talk to you for a year. So thank you. Feedback, thoughts, comments?
Wow, that
Thank
was
you very much.
That
Thank
was
you very much.
awesome.
I apologize. I got to hop to another meeting, but definitely gain knowledge. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Cool.
Yeah. Taking notes. I was typing because I didn't have my notebook with me, but I do love to take notes, like writing out. Digital I like because I can go back and search it, but I took a page and a half of notes, so I appreciate that so much. And this is one of the things that we've been focusing on here, with the mindset revolution, is helping people with a breakthrough, the mindset shift. Mindset is everything. And then focus, right? Because everything we have or where we're at in our life is not because we don't have the talent or the drive or the dreams or the goals. It's the ability to stay singularly focused on that thing that you want so bad without getting distracted, right? And so outwitting the devil, Napoleon Hill, the book that he was kept secret like 45 years, says that's what the devil's playground is to keep you distracted so you don't focus. So that was amazing, Dr. Andrea. I appreciate that so much, and sharing with us those tools and strategies. This is recorded, so everybody can go back and watch it multiple times. You're going to need to watch this over and over and over again. So it'll be uploaded in our library here within by Monday at the latest. So you guys can come back and watch it again. Any questions for Dr. Andrea before we wrap up?
Cool.
I have one. It's awesome that you shared what you did, because it actually described, and looking for that word where, when you're talking about the positive manipulation, it really is about preparing your mind, isn't it? Because in that reflective comments that I was making earlier, that's part of, I've learned some of these things before, but you made it very simple, concise, these different activities that can actually prepare your mind, not only to focus on what you're going to be thinking about, but also too, to stay in focus. And I think that's where I think maybe the challenge is with all of us. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was trying to think of the numbers. I forget, it's like our mind can only handle like 7 to 9 like 7 plus or minus 2. So like phone numbers, often we can remember, the 3-digit and the 4-digit, but then we got to remember what's the area code attached to that. And then if we have 100, it's average that we get 126 bits per second of new information. So if you can only absorb 7 plus or minus 2, your brain has a trillion different things coming at you at all times. And if you're a fast learner and you're a multitasker, you are taking in so much, you have to clear the cache of your Google. You know how, remember how you have to go in and clear and you do and refresh all the data? Because right now, if you go into your computer and look, it will save your history for everything, every picture, every image on every website that you looked at for the last, 100 days. And that's what your brain is doing. You actually, even though you may not remember it, if we were to set you back and have you go back and look at it, you would have remembered it to some regard. Again, you've deleted and distorted it. That's why when we hypnotize people to remember, they don't always remember things correctly because they generalized it to fit whatever their world was. But it just is very amazing, the capabilities of our minds and what information it stores. And those of you who've trained yourself to recall that information, it can be quite a gift. So yeah, that's a whole nother course. That's a whole nother hour I can talk to you about is memory. So
I look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you guys for letting me be here. And Bill, I'd like to follow up with you. I have some different classes that I teach that I would love to gift all of your people to come to. You're my client, so I'd love for them to be able to come to these and just have these trainings so that they learn them. I have one that's called the Freedom Switch, and I'm fine if you guys even wanted to gift them to your clients. That's fine. I mean, reasonably, at the end of them, I do offer them opportunities to upgrade and do different things, but the class itself is completely 100% free, and a plethora of information for them, but it's helping them be able to create their life differently and think of their purpose, and opens up their mind. It's a really great opener for clients that are thinking about doing some high-end packaging and consulting and stuff with you, to get them in a better frame of mind of what's important to them. So I'll follow up with you on that. Okay.
That's awesome. It's good. Yeah, we'll definitely connect with that. Thank you very much.
All right.
Guys, have an amazing weekend, and let's go crush it. Let's put those new strategies into place today.
Bye.